diving into a little bit about your story, right? I mean,
Okay.
let's go into the beginning of your story and kind of what that looks like
Well, and
and
thanks
who
for
you are
having me.
and who you are,
Yes.
right?
And I've known
Because
Taylor for a
yeah,
minute.
yeah,
I'm also what I call a dual citizen of the country of St. George and the country of up north, just so you know, because I've been down here, I've owned homes down here for almost 20 years, and we have several rental properties. And anyway, I used to work down here quite a bit. I still do. I do a lot with like nightly rentals, and shout out to Jesse. I do some work with Jesse too. So anyway, love you all. So we're all part of the KW family.
yeah. I love it.
Yes. So, okay. So what would you like me to start with?
What got you into real
Okay.
estate? And B, what was your journey to become part of KW? Because you didn't start at KW.
Correct.
Okay.
I joke around and say I did everything wrong when I decided to get my license.
A lot of people do.
Yes, I basically was like, I'm just going to try this out. I wasn't fully committed. There were just a lot of things. But my dad was actually a broker in Arizona, so I've been around real estate my whole life. But I was kind of that weird 8-year-old that liked to look at the MLS booklets. You probably don't remember these, but anyway, there were these little magazines. And so anyway, I was always fascinated with real estate. Kind of had a different turn of events. In fact, I used to be one of Governor Herbert's campaign managers, so that's why I was down here quite a bit. And then I got into kind of politics, which is funny. I hate politics actually, but I liked the policy side. So, but I would always watch land and I'd watch building and I always just loved everything about real estate. I was pretty savvy on when we needed to buy or sell. So I'd tell my husband, I'd be like, hey, by the way, we're selling our home in 3 months or whatever. And he's like, wait, what? What are you talking about? So anyway, then I got into Airbnbs kind of the early days, legal Airbnbs, may I say, but when it came about, and I bought 2 over at Sand Hollow, actually, in some of the first section. And I did everything wrong on that too. I have a history of doing everything wrong at first. So did everything wrong on those. And I was not an agent at the time. And then I just kind of was learning. And then people started calling me and saying, hey, should I buy one? And Governor Herbert actually told me I was finishing his last campaign cycle. And he said, why do you not have your real estate license? Because I'd already kind of was in it. And I said, yeah, I think I will. I think I'll try it. I'll just try this. So that was 9 years ago. And then I just was part-time at a flat fee brokerage. Can I say that? But anyway, so and I just wasn't committed and I just couldn't find my people. Eventually I came over to KW and I just absolutely loved it. I remember I actually cried when I walked in the office and I saw all these cool things on the wall and all the sayings. And I was just like, hey, I'm going to learn some stuff here, And so because I was I remember they were using all these acronyms. They're like, what's your GCI? I was like, can you tell me what that means? So at the time I really did not know. And that was actually during December of 2020. So about 5 years ago.
Awesome. So 2020 is when you made that leap. You became more full-time.
And by the way, yes, I had this moment where, again, I kind of told my husband just right about 1.5 years before I came to KW, I said, I'm in this. I love it. I said, I love what I'm doing. And he said, I've been waiting for you to figure out that you're going full-time for a long time because I've known, but I just haven't wanted to push you. So anyway, and he's here today too, which I have to give him a big kiss. So.
For sure. Which I love. And you and my wife should get together since it sounds like she throws you into messes randomly like I do with my wife.
Yes.
We're moving.
Yes.
Right? It's a fun thing.
Yes.
It's joyful.
It is.
So one of the things, I know this whole conversation is really not about a silver bullet. It's not about something that's hey, do this one thing and everything will change, right? It's a lot about thinking. It's a lot about that process. It's a lot about personal development and growth, right?
Correct. Although I will say there is one thing.
Okay.
I will say there is one thing.
Cool.
And I'll tell you that little story if you're up for that. But I don't think I ever had the thought, and that's what I want to really convey, is that I don't think I ever even thought that I could make $1 million. That had never even crossed my mind. I had gone to family reunion. I'd heard other people talk. I had heard it and I was just like, that's amazing, but it never had clicked for me. I just, and I was doing a lot of production, but I just kept thinking, maybe this is a one-off year of a good, year. And it just never hit me. And so part of my story, and sorry, I hope I don't get emotional telling this story, but in 2023, I was at Mega Camp, actually sitting next to you. I don't know if you remember this, Taylor. So I was sitting.
Cuddling.
Yeah. Actually, I was cuddling with my husband, but because
all right, that's why I don't remember.
But we were talking. I did share some M&Ms, I think, with Taylor. I brought like jerky and stuff. I don't know if you remember this, but I brought like a whole snack bag.
I eat food.
Yeah. So I think that's what happened. But anyway, in July of 2023, my world kind of changed. Like I remember exactly where I was. I was driving down I-15 near Sandy. And my husband had been working at a large tech company, one of the big ones, for almost 20 years, 1 year from retirement, 1 year and 5 days. And he called me up and he said, I got laid off. And that really rocked my planet and rocked both of our planets. Sorry. And in that moment, we had just closed on the new house. By the way, interest rates, as you all know, had just skyrocketed. And our house payment was almost double.
What year was this?
2023.
2023. Okay.
Yes. So this would have been July of 2023. And like I said, we had just closed on a house. Our house payment was far more than we had anticipated. I had also just been diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis and I wasn't feeling great. And this news came out and basically you don't have a lawsuit, by the way, I'll tell you that right now, if it's 1 year and 1 day. Before retirement. So it was devastating for us. And I thought, how am I going to make everything happen? Because I have rentals, I have all these things. And anyway, I just was very stressed about it, but I didn't want to stress him out about it as well. And so I went to Mega Camp and he came along because I was like, well, come along and let's just go. And I'll never forget it because somebody was on stage and they talked about how they had never expected to make $1 million. And they had hit $1 million GCI. And that was the first time I had ever thought about it. And I said, if I make $1 million next year, I will not have to worry about like if he gets another tech job. Because at the time I was thinking, I don't know if he's going to get another tech job. Like, I don't know what's happening. So that was the first time I thought it. Then kind of moving forward, a few months later, I was in at one of these like courses, just like you're doing with the listings. And I wrote it down and I said, I'm going to make $1 million in 2024. And I told one person, I told Shoni actually, and I said, I don't want you to tell anyone else, but I'm setting this goal. And I told obviously Brent too. And then I just said, I'm going to do it. And I'm going to not, and the big thing I want to convey is I didn't have the luxury of saying it's a terrible market anymore. I didn't have the luxury of excuses. I just had to say, there are people that are always buying and selling, and I can find these people, and I'm going to make it a point to help more people. And I also looked at it from a lens of it's not about me, even though, yes, I wanted to make that money. I also said, I know I have the bandwidth to help more people. And so I'm going to help more people, and I'm going to put it out there that I'm helping more people. And so I made that goal. I wrote it down. And then the new year started. Meanwhile, I thought I need to hire an assistant, which was also scary because I made a real move where my husband doesn't have a job. I have this house payment that's way more than I want it to be. I'm not feeling awesome. And I hire an assistant and I'm thinking, what am I doing? So I did that. And then I got a little into my head. If you actually look at my production numbers that year, I started really well and I hit some big numbers. Like I had a month of like 100,000, 80,000. And then I all of a sudden got into my head and I made zero in 1 month. And in April, I made zero. And then I just went, okay, maybe I have to do this in a different year. And I almost changed my goal. And then I said, you know what? I'm just going to stick to it. I just know if I just do this, I can make up for it. And I actually had then the next month was almost zero. I think I had like an 8,000. So I had 2 months in a row, zero, and then an $8,000 month. And then I just kicked it into high gear and I said, no, I'm doing it. So anyway, I thought it. And like I said, the biggest obstacle, I mean, you hear these things about mindset, but it really is true. Like if you do not have those excuses, and one thing I'd like to just tell you is I started thinking about I call them 4 Ds: divorce, diapers, death, and degrees. And I thought those are people that are always looking in the market that you're in. Divorce, death, what did I say? Diapers, degrees. Yes. So I also just thought, you know what? If I take an interest in people, People will be interested in what I'm doing. So I started to just talk to more people. And anyway, it just kind of evolved. And I found out I knew it was going to be close, and I was really sweating it. And I actually have kind of a funny story for another day, but it involves Clay Winder. So
Nice.
anyway, but he was joking around, and he kind of found out through the grapevine I was really close to hitting it. He goes, "I've seen your numbers, Heather. I've seen that you're really close." And so we were doing a deal together, and he put the close date as January 2nd as a joke. I know, right? And then he goes, "Just so you know, yeah, just January 2nd, it'd be really good." And then I said, "Clay, let me tell you a little secret." And he's like, "What? Are you really?" And I said, "I've done the math, and I just found out yesterday. I'm going to hit it." So I said, "We'll take your April 2nd or your January 2nd.
Right.
He's like, "Wait a minute. Anyway, so it was just a funny story. But I found out. So I hit 1,009,000
That's awesome.
in GCI.
That's way to go.
Thank you.
Way to go.
Thank you.
And now it's 2024.
That was 2024.
Okay,
And then
that's
last year, I basically said I'm going to slow down to kind of get my systems in place, but I'm on track again this year.
Way to go.
Which I'm like, but again, I'm just saying no excuses. Okay.
Yeah.
You know, not gonna, there's always people looking to buy and sell.
Yep.
You
There
do
is.
both with no without systems in place, and just you and an assistant?
And an assistant that was my hairdresser, by the way. I hired my hairdresser because I knew she was loyal. She was somebody I met at the Purdue bar, the like blow dry
Right.
bar. She'd been doing my hair, like curling it sometimes for like 2 years. And one day she was shampooing my hair, and I was like, "Madeline, would you ever think of working for me?" And she's like, "Yes." And I was like, "Oh, I
love
wasn't
that.
expecting that."
Well, and I want to jump back to that because
Yes.
I have a few questions around that. But before I go there, I kind of want to stick in this mindset part for a little longer.
Yeah.
I know one of the things that you've mentioned before is you had to see it, you had to think it, you had to believe it in order to do it, right?
And I believe that's the 4 steps.
Right. And that kind of happened for you in a few different ways. First, you saw it at Mega Camp.
I did. I saw it at Mega Camp.
Then how did the rest of that go with you getting to the spot where you're like, this is what I'm doing?
It was during that boot camp. That's why it's so great that you're doing like these resources and amazing classes, because it was at that moment where I had been thinking about it since Mega Camp. Like I had gone from, I saw it, and then I started to say, could I do this? Is this something I really could do? And it took me about 2 or 3 months to really commit. And then I finally just said, you know what? I'm going to believe in it. And I'm just going to put it out in the universe and, ask for help and just, again, and try to be the best person I can be at the same time and helping others, because I didn't want to make it about me. Like no one else really knew my goal, and still even a lot of my clients probably don't know, but I didn't want them. I didn't want to be like, oh, I've made $1 million. Like that wasn't what it was about. It really was, hey, if my husband doesn't get another job, what can happen with this, And so then when I started to really, when I believed it, and I will say that month I had that 0, that was really hard. And when I had a 0 month, I went, whoa. And then the next month I had an $8,000 month, and I went, man, there is almost no way that I can do this. And every kind of voice in my head got to me. And then I finally my husband was great support, and he just said, look, you can do this. And I said, you're right, I can do this. And so I just had to get really kind of refocused,
So in general, real estate, you are the CEO of your business. This is your business. It's a choice that you chose to be in this. Of course, the brokerage that you choose is the ecosystem and things like that. What parts of KW helped you to have the right mindset to get into those think and have, or different things that stood out to you that helped you launch your career? Because you already had a great career. I mean, I know the first year at KW, you tripled your business.
Well, which
right?
is funny. That's not even a funny story, because
Like,
I didn't know. I really had not, until I came to KW, I did not know how much I was making. It was kind of like end of year. My husband's like, hey, they made this much. I was like, cool. Wow, good. And so I didn't really know that because I am very business minded. And so when I went to KW, and I remember at the time it was Tim, that was the team leader. And he's like this coach guy, right? Sports guy. And he's like, Heather, do you know what you're on track to do? And I was like, actually, no. I really do not. And he was like, well, and he kind of drew it out and made it all, drew out something. And he was like, I think you're going to hit 500,000 GCI this year. And I said, I told him, I said, you are crazy. There is no way I'm hitting that number. And then I did, which was crazy. He was totally right. And so I love that things made sense. And really, I like that it really is kind of a numbers thing. And as far as it's a people business, and one of the things that clicked for me probably about a year prior to that, is I realized that I owned a business and the vehicle was real estate. But the business that I owned and that we all own is taking care of people. And if you have that mentality of taking care of people, like we're right now on a transaction, Jesse and I, and man, we are taking care of some people. And it's not going to be a real profitable one. But I also know it's been the right thing to do. And if you do the right thing, there's a saying I like that says, if you do the right thing for the right reason at the right time, it all works out. And I'm paraphrasing that. But I really do believe that when you are really focused on other people and helping them, I share this little story too, real quick, but when I was a brand new agent, I remember one of my clients, one of my first clients, this is like deal number 2 or 3. And they called me up and it was 2 lawyers that I knew. They were investors. They both are awesome. We're good. I'm pretty good friends with them. They'd been using other realtors. And they said, Heather, you're like the only realtor that we know has been to Duchesne. Because when I worked for Governor Herbert, I've traveled the whole state. And they said, we need this certain type of property. Well, I went and I found it. Anyway, we found it. Long story short, it was a FSBO, for sale by owner, and they were offering a $2,000 commission. And I remember I drove out there several times. I did not make a penny on this transaction, right? And by the way, I meant to tell you, it was an inherited property with 13 siblings, all 13 siblings, FSBO. Okay, this
So
is
easy
as can be, right? And they hate realtors. The first thing they did when I called, they said, we hate realtors. I'm like, okay. I'm a new realtor and I probably, I don't know what I'm doing, but okay. So anyway, but the reason I tell this story is because there was a moment that when I had done the right thing for them, I had found them this property, I didn't make anything. And when we got down to the closing table, they actually looked at me and they said, Heather, we know we owe you more money. We know that you did this as a service. And in that moment, I had a choice to actually say, okay, yes, pay me an additional few $1,000s or whatever. I decided in that moment, I said, and I don't even know where it came from, but I just looked at him and I said, you know what? I want to be your realtor for life. And I said, I am committed to our relationship moving forward. And this isn't about just this transaction. And I really did just let it go. I said, I wanted to do this transaction to help. And because I didn't, in my opinion, because I didn't make it about that transaction and that piece of money, every year, I actually can trace back how much money I have made from these 2 individuals. I have made over $400,000 in the last 8 years. And I have also, they have sent me people, like right now I'm actually on a transaction with one of their referrals, and they have sent me over 200,000. So directly 400,000 commissions and then 200,000 from their friends and family. And it was because you have to see the bigger picture. So.
Yeah, no, I love that. No, that's fantastic. So along those lines, because it's like, I want to circle back to your hiring. Because caring about people, the concepts of core of aspects of you really having to believe first, and that thought process and personal development side. But hiring, what you hired her, it worked perfectly. And no problems whatsoever, like magic?
I mean, let's be honest. Everything has ups and downs, right? And she's even had a baby since then, and we're working it out. We're like, hey, okay. And so now she's moved to like my TC, right? And again, I'm committed to that person,
right.
And she has the right skill set. And it was rough because I mean, like I said, she didn't know nothing about hair. Like she did hair, and.
Which is harder to get into than real estate.
Right, it is actually. I'm also a hairdresser.
It's
from years
more
ago,
difficult.
Well, it's a lot of hours, like 1,600. But so I would say, and it's hard because depending on your personality type, I am the worst. I am not great at hiring. I'm very optimistic. I'm like, yes, you'll be great. And so. I had to also be a little strategic. And I had her take the KPA, and I kind of knew how she did my hair, because I'm also like, I was licensed and I still am, like, years ago. And I was watching her, and she was very systems, how she would curl my hair. And so I was like, she's going to be more systems, like, instead of just randomly curling my hair. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to give her the KPA. And I've decided that really is, I mean, it is pretty awesome. It's an awesome tool. And so I gave it to her, and I didn't trust myself to read the results. So I basically went to actually Cameron. And so I said, Cameron, hey, I'll buy you lunch at like some really good place. I said, but I need you to just make sure this is the right fit for me. And he kind of went through it with her. He went through it with me, and that was good. And so, yeah, we kind of worked it out. But I really think use the tools you have, and also utilize other people around you, and they know you. And so just say, hey, do you think this would be a good fit? So that's, I think, really important to do.
No, I love that. So you used the KPA, you used the KW system. You also had some other people, right? Which we all succeed better when we put ourselves around better people. It was also a hard time, though, and I want to bring that back up.
Yeah.
So how did you pull it off and justify taking your business to this next level? And leverage is one of those key things that you need, but it's not free.
Hard. And it's hard.
Yeah.
And what I had to get in, and I still, just so you know, I still struggle. Like, because sometimes I have a tendency, I grew up with not very much money. My parents were educated, but they were not, like, my mom was a school nurse, and my dad decided to start a real estate business. And so we were super poor, for years. And so I think a lot of us have a lot of scarcity around money issues, and we don't see money as it can also amplify. So it can be an investment. What you're spending can be an investment into something else. Like, we see it go out the door, but we don't see it as an investment. We see it as a cost, right? And so I even struggle. I mean, Brent and I were just talking about this the other day. It's like, we sometimes struggle where we're like, can I hire? Because I'm looking at maybe hiring, and it scares me. And it scares me because let me rewind. I had started to hire 2 other people before, and one was great, but there's things that just don't work out in the long run. And I realized you have to also get buy-in from the spouse, by the way. So that was, or other significant other. And the other one, she couldn't be happy. She actually said, and it broke my heart, because she was a good assistant for a little while, and she had been an agent. And she told me, she said, I just can't be happy for your success because it should be me. And when she said that, it really broke my heart. And what's crazy, I didn't actually even let her go at that time, because I was like, I was just in this. And then a little while later, I realized, like, she'll never be happy for my success. And if I have an assistant, like, she has to be there, like, and I'm going to make it a win for them. So I said, look, I will make this a win for you. I give, sometimes little incentives or things, but I needed that. And so that's when I realized she wasn't the right fit. So that's why I hired somebody that was loyal, and somebody who knew me and wanted my success. And I call it like the hustle and hungry also. If they don't have hustle, and if they are not hungry, it's not going to work. So even whatever the KPA says, I do KPA plus, are they hungry and do they have hustle? And if they're not motivated, even if they have the best KPA in all the universe, it's not going to work. And I have learned that.
Yeah.
So you've really got to make sure that they're hungry and they want it, and learn about their goals. And I'm still doing that right now. Like, I say, what is it you want to do? My new assistant, she also actually came out of the blow dry bar. So anyway,
so moral of the story,
like, yes, blow dry bar. And so, but she had just gotten a finance degree, but realized she didn't really want to go into finance. And so she was looking for a job, and she had kind of the same skill set as Madeline, and Madeline was having a baby. So I moved her to part-time TC, and I have Quinn. So that's my structure right now, is that I have a full-time assistant, Quinn, who, like I said, also learning about real estate. And I'm so proud of her, because just last week she closed on a house, and she's like, I never thought that I would ever be able to buy a house within the next 5 years. And she and her sister went in together. I found them a 3.75 interest rate with a builder, and they closed, and they're super excited.
That's so awesome.
And I love that. And
Yeah.
like, so make their dreams come true too, you know?
Right. So being able to build a world big enough that the
Yes.
people in your world, you can make sure to serve at the highest level.
Exactly. Yes.
I love that. Well, okay, what's next? I mean, you did $1 million, you're going to hit $1 million again this year.
I'd like to net $1 million.
Net $1 million.
Net $1 million. I don't know if it'll be this year. I think it might, but I am, I'm in that. And you know what's really hard is people think that you make money and then you don't have problems. Let me assure you, if you have kids, number one, you will. But no, I'm just teasing. Actually, we have really great kids, but and we now are having grandkids, so it's crazy. But it's like just realizing like life happens still. So even though you've got your career, you've also got to realize like, what is it that like, how can I sustain everything? And sometimes I am working 80-hour weeks, and that's a terrible thing of mine. And then I realize, okay, maybe it's time to hire, So like, something I really do struggle with. So if you struggle with that, you're not alone. Like there are some people that just are like, hey, I'm just going to hire somebody and I'm going to do this. And I'm like, wow, that's admirable. Because for me, that has been probably my very hardest thing. But I do want to get just good people around me, because if everyone wants everyone else to succeed, then it's going to be magic.
100%.
And that's what I truly believe. But if you have anyone that can't be happy for you around you or whatever, you need to limit their access to you. Because when I needed, and there was a time, and I am going to kind of throw this back with Brent, when he even was like, I don't know if you can make $1 million. It was like all of a sudden he kind of doubted, but then he like shifted and he was like, you know what? Yeah, you can. And when I knew he believed in me, you just need one other person to believe in you. And I believe in you right now. So just know you really do need one person that believes you can do it. If I wouldn't have had a supportive spouse that believed it, like if he would have just said, oh, I think you can do it, I would have known if he was faking it.
Right.
And so you need to find that one person. And even if it's Taylor, but I needed Brent, but then I was like, you're a little tainted because you're married to me. So as much as like, I love you and all, but I that's why I went to Shoni.
Right.
And I basically said, and I swore him to secrecy. And I said, I need you to not tell anyone that this is my goal. But I said, I need you to know it, because I just need somebody else to know it so that I am kind of accountable for it,
Right. Which for how you work, that helped you to move through those mindset process to get there.
Yeah.
While you stayed hungry.
Exactly.
And
yeah. And again, I would recommend really analyzing how you feel about money. If that is something that I think I'm continually working from, like Brent and I both grew up in families where there were years where we didn't have much. And I think that creates a totally different feel around money. And so we've had to sometimes, and even we go back into the habit where sometimes we get a little scared, and like, I have to really let it go. And Gary Keller says, I'm not quoting Gary Keller like all the time, which is so weird, but I'm like, oh, Gary Keller says, but what
happens when you drink the Kool-Aid?
I know, I love KW so much. So, but one of the things that I think, now I forgot what I was going to say. What were we talking about? The
mindset, money.
Money. Is that if you can pay that person's salary, if you know you need to hire and you're overwhelmed, if you can pay that salary for 3 months, that's all you really need. And that has been something that I have really tried to do, because I said, okay, can I pay that person's salary for 3 months? Because in 90 days, if you put them on a 30, 60, 90, you are going to know if that person is going to amplify your money. The payback also should be at about 2.5 to 3x. Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen right at month 3, but at least at month 3, when I had hired Madeline, I could envision that I could make her salary back and more. And that's where I needed to be. So I think that's kind of the magic formula. Again, I'm a little bit mathematical that way. And I needed to see it and say, okay, I have enough to cover that. And I did something even last year when I kind of moved to less production, because like I wanted to start doing my social media. I had really not done a lot with social. and I started a podcast, and the struggle's real, by the way, on that, because you have to be consistent, and it's hard, and all the love to all of us, right? We're all trying to figure this out. And now with AI, it's like, what one more thing do we need to deal with? But when I did that, it was an investment, because I did hire somebody, and I had him come in and just do my podcasts. And I said, okay, I need you to just buy the equipment, set this up in my basement, and do it. And what's interesting is you don't see, it's not that you get, at least for me, I'm not cool enough, right, to be like, I'm like, a grandma these days, right? But it's like, I'm not like that cool. I'm not there to get all these viral responses. But what I learned is it reminded my database and my friends and people around me that I do real estate.
Right.
And that is the goal really with social media. It isn't like, oh, I had this clip and it was so cool. And I don't know, at least for me, I was like, that's not going to happen with me. I'm kind of nerdy, and I talk about numbers and things. But I just did a clip, and I'll tell you right now, like one that you should do, that I could probably trace at least 5 deals I'm doing right now to it. Just really simple. I shot it in my backyard. I just went like this, just talked on my phone, and I said, hey, there are interest rates out there lower than 6%. I have access to some interest rates that are anywhere from 3.875 to 4.9. I have probably had at least 10 people that were not on my radar to contact that Facebook messaged me.
For sure.
And they basically said, we want to know more about those interest rates. So go out to some of these builders that are running incentives. Just stand in front. Just even do it on your phone. Like I did one that I said, hey, this is an emergency. This is not professionally filmed. I'm just telling you, this is an emergency, hot deal right now. If you're looking, I can help you get in a townhome with a great interest rate or whatever. I can't tell you, like I said, these are people I knew, but that are not on my radar. So if you want more business right now, just that's an easy hack.
Right. Kind of putting that out there, the people that already know you.
Because people are here, because again, just like when I made $1 million, when I started to get in my head that I couldn't do it, then I couldn't do it. That's when I really dropped the ball. But, so like right now, you have to remember, what is the general public hearing? They are hearing interest rates are too high. Housing costs are too high. They can't afford it. It's a terrible economy. It's a bad year. They are getting every single one of those messages. All of us have been in the grocery store or something recently. And what do we hear? We hear people talking about the housing market. Like 10 years ago, people were talking about like the lettuce and the produce when you go to Walmart, right? But like now everybody's like, oh, I don't know if I can get a house or if my kids can get a house. Right now, the marketing is being done for you. The problem is it's bad messaging that they are receiving. And so if you can correct the bad messaging that they are receiving, they will 100% be so, and I've had clients even cry at the table, at the closing table, because they said, I didn't even know I could do this right now. Like this was not even on my radar. So right now, it's actually a cool time. Like there are times where, don't get me wrong, it's a hard market too. It really is. It's difficult, but I don't say it's impossible. And I have to catch myself. The thing I'm trying to do is also improve my vocabulary. Because when I say like I'm like, oh, this is a terrible market or interest rates high or whatever. I have to get out of that. And again, go back to there are people I know right now that need my help. And I can help them by getting into a house, because that is going to be what will propel them into equity plays and money and the financial security. So yeah.
No, for sure. Well, thank you. I have 2 things I want to circle back to before I make sure if I forget them. One, you said that there was one thing that you did that got you there. What was that one thing? Because we talked about silver bullet.
Yes, I would say the silver bullet really is believing you can do it. And honestly, like now that you've seen somebody that's done it, you've all heard about it at Mega Camp or on different screens, there's people out there. Like I said, it never had even crossed my mind that I would ever be able to do it. And if it weren't, I almost feel like telling my company's tech company, my husband's, now still I'm a little bitter, right? Because we did get hosed out of a lot of money in stock, by the way. So, and that was really hard. But I almost want to thank him in a way, because it was in a very ironic way. Sometimes your hardest trials and things you go through will be a gift to yourself and others. And now I'm thankful. I mean, it actually even brought we were like happily married, but it even brought us closer, because I think we had gone through something really hard. And he did get a job 10 months later, but it was a long time.
Yeah.
And so it was kind of a scary time. And like I said, I think get out of your habits. There's books about money, but really analyze, like, what are your thoughts around money? And is it an amplifier or is it something you see that leaves out the door? Do you have emotion around it? And what are those emotions? And I've had to really analyze that as well.
So continuing to work on your self-development, your mindset,
100%.
and believing in yourself.
You can do this.
Yeah.
Like, this is not this. I'm not special. This was not a thing. It was out of, I was more scared to not make my goal than anything else. Yeah. And when I say that, I shouldn't say scared because I don't want to sound like it's a negative. When I realized, like, I really can do this, and I tried to almost, like I said, I really started to really understand, am I helping this person? Every person, like, we really do have the coolest job in the universe when you think about it. I mean, we help propel people's lives in a way that they a lot of times cannot do themselves, or if they would try it, it could be catastrophic. But, you know, we have the opportunity to change lives, and that's what we do. And if you go into thinking, I am the CEO of a business that changes people's lives, and the vehicle again is real estate, like, you keep that mentality, it makes your job also more enjoyable. Then on the down days, you feel a lot better because you're like, I'm still helping people. I'm still helping people. And that's what it's about.
For sure. It is about the people, right?
Absolutely.
So everything, I mean, the people we're around help us to get where we're going, and how can we help more people and shine that way?
And have one other person, just kind of going back to that one person, I would also say, like, I remember the one time when Brent was starting to doubt and I could feel it, I said, I need you to believe. And I said, I need you to believe and not forget that this is a thing that, I said, I can't be around that like scarcity right now. Like I said, I know you're struggling because you're looking for a job, but I said, I need you to believe too. And that was really important to me because, again, you can believe, but you need one other person. So
I love it.
Yeah.
Last question to wrap things up.
Yes.
So we have everyone here, like, if they're serious about doubling their business, doubling their standard, getting it so they're at the next level, what is the one habit that you would say that is essential for them?
Well, I've hit mindset hard. So I'm going to just, I want to maybe kind of give you a little slight variation of that. Like, I want to give you some really specific things I think you could do right now. Like I said, that interest rate post, even if you just film it from your phone, I think you're going to just be so surprised by what you see. The other thing is, again, one other thing that I think is a little bit of like my magic hack is I look at the calendar and I think, who is buying or who is looking right now? Because I think the problem is sometimes, like, as realtors, we call up people and we're like, hey, I do real estate. Guess what? They already know you do real estate. You know, if you call up and say, I need business, like that, again, it turns it back to you. Get out of the you and into like helping others. But what I think is so important, and we talked about this the other day, when I got into real estate, I was like, you know, you get your license and you think you're going to know things. And then you're like, I know absolutely nothing. So, you know, except on how not to go to jail. That's what I say. For when you get your license, you learn how to not go to jail. But I remember I was like, what do I do? And I would see these posts about real estate, like, oh, I do real estate and whatever. I didn't really do that. And what I did is I started to look at online, and I started to see who was liking my posts on Facebook and who was actually, like, there was a pattern. And you'll see that some people follow you. And so what I started to do is then comment on their things and like their things. And I started to take an interest in their lives. And these are people that maybe I went to high school with 20 years ago, or even out of state people. And, but I started to respond and try to have more of a relationship with them. And what was so interesting is that almost all of them messaged me and said, hey, are you doing real estate? Hey, I know of somebody, or I have a friend or a cousin or whatever, because those are the people that are interested in you and they trust you. So that is meaningful. Like, even just look at who is wanting to be your friend. Who is interested in your life? Take an interest in theirs. And that's how I built my base. I never have paid for a lead ever. And I mean, that's fine for other people. I just didn't do that. And I will tell you, your conversion on people that already trust and know you is far higher. Like people always want this kind of like you're saying, this magic bullet. They're like, I want to get these leads. You know what the hardest ones are to convert? Cold leads. Like the leads are like, if they don't have any association with you, like that's a harder one to convert than somebody else. And in this time of, we're going to say, a different housing market, I'm going to tell you one other thing that has really surprised me. And that is, don't think because that person, like maybe somebody bought a house with you a year ago or whatever, they know people in other states. This year, I will have more referrals than I've ever done before. And the year I hit 1 million, I also received referral money because referral is so like, it's magic. That really is a silver bullet. Like, so I have a friend in Arizona who does real estate. I'm from Arizona originally. We started sending deals back and forth to each other. We've now closed probably in referrals at least 3 or 4 deals a year for each other. And so like, think of your feeder markets. Like even if you need somebody in Salt Lake, right? Or other parts of the state, think of like Las Vegas. We have so many people moving from Las Vegas now that are coming into St. George. Like think of getting somebody, you know, meet somebody intentionally at a KW event that is in Las Vegas or a feeder market and make friends with them and say, hey, I want to be your referral agent and I'd love to take care of your people. Those are great. And I've sent other people. So I also started telling people, hey, if you need an agent in Florida, I'm networked with some of the greatest agents because I work for the largest brokerage in the world. And that's what I tell them. I work for the largest brokerage in the world. That's amazing. And I can help you find an agent. I will interview that agent and they will call me. Like I said, I probably am going to do at least 20 this year. And they have called me and said, hey, I've got a daughter buying in Atlanta. Again, Atlanta, also a good place. And so like you think of these other markets, make friends there. And like I said, even just call an agent out of the blue. I have done this. I called somebody in Visalia, California, a KW agent. I had no association with them. Called them and I said, hey, I found you. I've got some questions for you. I've got a client. And my one client, their daughter was moving there. And so anyway, I ended up sending him. He's taking great care of them. And he's like, hey, by the way, I may have somebody for you down the road. So really think about not just your area. Think bigger.
I love it. So again, mindset, having it be where how are you thinking and putting other people first and continuing to build things around there. Hire when it's needed.
Yeah.
Even through hard times. And really just build the biggest business ever. Right? Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Heather.
Well, thank you. And I'm just glad. And I'm excited to meet all of you because a lot of you I've like texted before. I've shown your homes or you've shown mine. And so it's really fun. So I'm excited to be here. So thank you.
Well, thank you for driving over this way. And
of course. Yes. Thanks.
See ya.